OMI's price goes further down, and many in the OMI family are feeling completely disheartened by this. Now, some people completely understand that this often happens before things turn around. For those newer to crypto investing, it can feel devastating when you see the prices drop further and further and further below your buy price. Now, I'll share with you a story. When I was fairly new, 2 years into crypto, I made an investment in a project and I put in $4,000. And month after month, it seemed like the project's value decreased, because it pretty much did. And it decreased, and then it decreased, and then it decreased some more. And it felt like it just kept going down, because it did just keep going down. And most sold out during this time, and they complained about the project, and if the project had done this, it would be fine. And if the project had done that. And the community message boards were completely negative. Pretty much at least half of the community was freaking out. They were selling, and they didn't even go away. They stuck around to FUD the project. And at one point, my $4,000 investment was worth under $800, which was not very exciting. Now, what would you guess happened from there? Well, one thing that happened is people told me I was a shit investor. Cool. If by shit investor they meant totally savage, stay strong during massive shakeouts, keeping a close eye on the project, it was actually still alive and working, and a total shark of an investor, well, then they were right. Over the next few months, finally, some life came into it. And it was worth what I put in, which is an exciting day. And then over the following 3 months, it was worth 20x what I'd put in. A few months later, it was worth a full 100x that I put from what I'd put in. And 6 months after that was worth over 2000x what I put in. Remember, most people washed out during that really rough time, complaining about the project hadn't done enough, and if they had done this. And all that needed to happen was the narrative that the project was in finally needed to hit. Now, where is OMI going? Well, in the short term, it may even go down more. But in the medium term, I'm very excited about OMI's future. It is the leading project in the digital collectible space, and I believe that narrative is one of the biggest in crypto. I think you get it. You probably have done this already, but if not, make it rain on that like button. Strap in for the show, because we have two legends joining us for OMI is my homie. Doctor of Stuff joining us, and the real Randy Chavez. What's up, gentlemen?
What's up, Pam?
I was watching
Hey.
this.
Let's go.
That's a lot.
So good to have you guys here. I'm Wes saying I'm actually concerned about OMI at this price. It is very disheartening because OMI went down while 90% of altcoins went up this last week. So that can be frustrating. Bill Gardner says first like. Thank you, Bill. Travis Gregory says let's go. The voice of the people says LFG. Awesome.
What's up, Jason Pena?
And Justin jumping in here. Let's go. Yeah, Big A, unfortunately, I sold out before it got to the 2000. Yes, it would have been really nice. I didn't have the ability to speak to the team. One of the reasons I started the crypto channel was it would give me reach to be able to communicate and get more information from the team. They made a strategic decision that they were supposed to go one way, and if they had, it actually would have tanked my investment. And they had said they were going to go they're going to go that way since the beginning of the project. But then later on, they decided it would be bad for the project, and they had decided to not do that. And I didn't have inside information to know that, or any direct contact to the team. I couldn't get past somebody from their Telegram who really didn't know anything. And so that's part of the reason I knew I need to start a YouTube channel, because I couldn't get enough information to make savage decisions like that. Because as it stood, I still made amazing returns, but I missed out on what would have been a 2000x because I was selling it. It was climbing. And I thought that decision was pretty soon that they had promised to make it. And they ended up not doing that at all. And the price continued to soar even higher. And I would have kept the investment in longer. But yeah, still did good. I can't complain about over and under 100x. Yeah, nobody went broke taking profit. Remember, like, I didn't even buy at the bottom. I was down 80%, which doesn't feel very good, and still made over 100x from what I bought at. Imagine if I had bought at the bottom, but we don't have a magic crystal ball. You almost never buy the bottom. You can't tell for sure if it's going to survive, but there was much more reason to think that this project would fail at the time than there is to think that Ecomi or Vivi is going to fail now. Ecomi and Vivi actually has revenues coming in on a monthly basis. This other project did not. And they got an outside investment of $10 million that kept them from failing and helped them really get some legs under them to continue into the bull market. And then when their narrative hit, it totally popped. And that's often what happens is when the narrative hits. So really, a lot of times with crypto, what I tell people is you're waiting for the narrative to hit. What happens in the short term with the price? It's irrelevant other than if it goes down, I usually buy more. And then I'm waiting. That time to sell isn't short term. I'm not going to be selling OMI in the next 3 months unless somehow OMI goes to several cents in the next 3 months, which I doubt. But at some point it will hit. And when everybody is talking about OMI, that's when I'm looking to sell. And before then, it's just I usually hope it goes cheaper so I can buy more. So some people get disheartened in the short term when it's going down. I don't think that same way unless I can see very visible signs that the company is on its way to tanking. And I haven't seen anything realistically with that with Vivi and Ecomi. They're one of the strongest crypto narratives or crypto projects out there with actual monthly revenues coming in. Most projects are coasting on fumes from money that they raised 3 and 4 and 5 years ago, hoping not to run out because they don't have any revenue coming in. So Vivi's in a strong spot. What are your guys' feeling? OMI's price has been way down. Are you selling everything and leaving the community?
No, to address Wes's concern, I would be a little bit concerned if Flow was running and if stuff on Cryptoys was running and everything else was running but OMI and Vivi collectibles. It's just not really like the case right now. Flow is up a little bit. I think it went from like 48 cents to like 60 cents over the last couple months. But we saw that just within Vivi, just within the Vivi ecosystem in 2021, early 2022, we saw that things were running on Vivi, but not everything was running at once. I think the golden moments are like one of the last to run. Like you saw a bunch of stuff that probably shouldn't have ran, like Cryptkins, and you had other art from Decon that was doing like a 4 or 5x, and the golden moments were kind of, they weren't at retail, but they didn't like do that super run up, and then of course they did that super run up. So even if that were to happen, if you do have a bunch of other digital collectibles companies, all of their stuff is going up, like you do have a lot of ETH that's being bought, right? ETH that's being put into the NFT ecosystem. But if that were to run first, I still wouldn't be 100% scared, and I wouldn't automatically knee-jerk sell. I'd be like, okay, let's pay attention, see why these things are happening and why isn't it running on Vivi. But again, that's not the case right now. And again, you see a lot of grails being bought the last couple days anyway.
Yeah, I think that's super important point, Randy, is the fact that you got to look at comparable projects. Like the projects that are pumping the most right now are gaming projects and AI projects again. Like those are the ones that are pumping the most, right? And so I looked at Flow, and over 3 months, it's actually below the price, not much below, but below the price it was 3 months ago. Right now, over the last 7 days, it's up 10%. Over 14 days, it's 9.6%. Over 30 days, it's 4.6%, right? So like it's had some movement, but nothing like some of my AI and gaming tokens. And but look, I think that everyone, this is a thing that I think is so important for people to realize is you've got to realize like and do what's best for you and your mental health, right? Like there is a chance that OMI goes to zero. I think it's a very small chance. And so for me, and like I continue to buy at these prices because I do believe that long term, and I'm starting, like I'm on Stacker. I'm part of the OMI to NFT beta testing, right? I'm seeing this utility starting to come to the platform, right? And I think it's just really starting here. And so for me, I'm not too concerned. Like I'll be the first to tell you guys when I truly am concerned. When I'm just like, man, this is really scary for me. Like I'll be the first one to say that, right? I'm not there with this project, and it's so interesting. I mean, people talk about rugs, and like right now, I'm in. There's 2 projects right now that are actually doing pretty well that I invested in through VCs. And the VCs are freaking screwing us. Like it's illegal what they're doing, right? Like they're not honoring the vesting contracts that they've given us. They've extended it, and now they're basically like, hey, we're going to extend it some more unless you take this kind of buyout deal where we're going to give you less tokens. It's so crazy. This space is crazy, and so I do latch on to projects that I think I'm like they're going to be here long term, and I don't have to worry about vesting. I can buy spot. It's fully diluted token. A lot of these things and what they're building, and we continue to see improvements. And as long as I continue to see improvements and growth in Vivi and what they're building, I'm going to stay bullish on the OMI token.
Yeah, absolutely. Mr. MC1E jumping in here. Legends here. I think he's talking about the host as well as a bunch of people in the audience.
We love him. He's great.
Yeah, he's such an OG. We love Sanjay. It's good to have Stardust run here. So good that you could join in. You're on one of those crazy time zones these days. So glad you could be with us. All right. Yo, Wes, Bill, Big A, Double Quill. Great to see you, fam, from Doctor of Stuff. Yeah, VV Zombie, this is exactly how I think. I always tell my friends, if I'm not selling right now, I don't care about the price. I wouldn't say I completely don't care about the price. Often I pray it goes down so I can just dollar cost average more. I care more what the price looks like when the bull run really starts hitting, which I don't know. In the coming 3 months, we might have some exciting 3 months ahead of us. The blow off top of the bull run, probably sometime in next year. I don't know whether it's going to be March or like November timeframe. I'm just not sure. I do think the coming 3 months are going to be really exciting for certain narratives. And maybe AI starts running and maybe blockchain gaming starts running. We're seeing some early indications that maybe that's the case. We'll see how that plays out. Cool.
To get it started, I don't have a ton of time here. So what do we want to dive into first?
Randy, why don't you share some of the topics that are on your mind? I got a list from Doctor's stuff and what he wanted to talk about today.
I didn't send anything over.
What's on your mind? Let's start there.
All right. So in the top, this is something that I typically bring up every week, but the top 500 hodlers, the top 500 in general, you have, I don't want to say a war, maybe like a tug of war going on. And the whales that are buying are winning because out of the top 3 sellers, you have WC3NTE that sold 54 collectibles. Michael Campo, which sold 81 collectibles. He's a level 100 spotlight of the week, so shout out to him. And then E Nasty, which sold 117 collectibles. And they're like, well, Randy, that sounds like 250 collectibles in the top 500 being sold just by 3 guys. It sounds like a lot. And yeah, if you put it like that, it does. But you have RH4CO9, which bought 290 collectibles. So that one person just outspent the top 3 biggest sellers. And then you have Bezoj Man, who has 60,000 collectibles, which is, oh my God. He bought another 686 collectibles. And he's buying a lot of the cheap stuff that you can get for like $5, $10, $12. But he bought a Donnie last week. And that was like, what, $6,000? Like, and I know not every purchase is that, but these whales are spending pretty hard. Expert, the number 28 wallet, purchased 785 collectibles. So again, you have the sellers, but they're writ small by the buyers that are just going in and just scooping everything up. And I'm assume a fair decent amount of these are comics. But there's a buddy of mine, and Rain, you know him, Ernie. He's level 100, been level 100 for a while. He's not even in the top 100. He's number 107, Big Bad Buckeye. That's insane. He's got 3,500 collectibles, not even in the top 100. That's pretty nuts. And even in the top 10, you could have 10,000 collectibles and not be in the top 10. So you have 15,000.
That's encouraging numbers, the amount of buying going on versus the selling, because what happens is eventually the sellers get somewhat exhausted, like they sell through. And when you see that level of buying going on, that's usually what precedes bigger runs. I mean, I always hoped that some big, massive whales would come into this space. And yeah, that's evidence of people with serious money coming into the space hard.
What about you, Doc? You in the top 500?
Oh yeah, yeah. I've been top 500 for a long time. I'm climbing the ranks. I was just talking on the Twitter Spaces the other day, man. And we'll get into this a little bit more, but about Stacker and kind of like people getting into there and utilizing the information there to try to kind of increase their odds statistically of landing higher rarities. And man, I went ham on one and was trying to hit that secret rare. I counted up. Well, anyways, I'll save that. But yeah, I'm in the top 500. I have been for a while, and I'm climbing the ranks. And so, like I guess I put my money where my mouth is, right? Like, it's one thing to sit there and say like I'm bullish on OMI, bullish on VV, and then just be holding. And look, for some people's financial situations, like that's all they can do, and they can still be bullish on it, right? But for me and for where I'm at, like I'm still like I'm buying other projects as well, but like I continue to just enjoy purchasing these things. And I'm telling you, when we get to Stacker, there's some things like if you guys want the adrenaline rush, I'm going to talk to you about something. It's gotten me back to where I'm just like, oh man, this is awesome. So yeah, super excited about it.
Yeah, you see what people are buying on there. Like you could be curious about a collectible, be like, okay, you can get a certain amount of info on VV. You see how many there are, how many are listed in the market, and see obviously how many you own. But you can't really see how many other people own unless they list them as a flex. But on Stacker, you could. I was like, I wonder, because it's hard to get a secret rare Spider-Man Noir. I mean, in general, it was hard because there's only 88 of them. VV keeps 8, so there's only 80. So you figured the top holder probably has like 3, like maybe 4 if they got super lucky on like the drops. But there's this guy named Blah, Blaah, and he has 9 of them, and they're like $6,000 now. I was like, oh my god, this is. So it seems to me that a lot of these ones that are super scarce, and especially that one being a Spider-Man, Stacker shows you all that info. It shows you now that one he happens to be registered with Stacker, so you have a Blah on there, but you could at least track the wallets and be like, okay, this wallet, what are they doing? What are they buying? And I was with a buddy of mine a couple weeks ago, and he's like, I follow what Sleepin does on Stacker, and I buy everything that he buys. I was like, not bad.
That's really smart.
Not bad of an idea.
I like VV Zombie's comment here. I've sold 2 items for 150 each, and it took 2 days for one, 20 seconds for the other piece. Definitely feel the winds changing.
I feel a change in the wind, says I. Speaking of that, we have while I'm here, the OMI burn giveaway. Let's talk about that. Rain, can you bring up a picture?
Yes.
Yeah.
Give me just 1 second. And
ooh.
Root Society beer. Here we go. Check it out. In fact, we're going to make it even bigger. There we go. All right. So who wants to give the description of the giveaway?
Oh, I'll do it. Shout out to Turtle for DMing me. He is part of the Gold Dragon Club, right? And the Gold Dragon Club, for those of you who don't know, if you own a Gold Dragon, they continuously provide utility for holding it. And one of the things that they do, one of the utilities they offer is if you buy the Gold Dragon Gold Dragon collectible, and then you list it for sale for $88,000, you are entered into an OMI giveaway for the month. And they've done other things too, like they've done partnerships with Superstar Money, where they gave away like a 2-day stay in France when VV was doing that their activity out there, right? With VV fam, like some awesome things. And so here's the deal of what's happening, right? And I posted it for those of you who didn't see. It's an OMI burn giveaway, and it's a competition. It's basically like an OMI burn auction. Okay, so in the chat, you guys need to post how much OMI you are willing to burn, and the person who commits to burning the most, right? And then obviously it will have to be verified before they send the gift. And another caveat, you have to be a U.S. resident and you have to be over 21. But then they will send you as much Metabrew beer as can fit in a U.S. Postal Service priority mailbox, right? And so, yeah, if you guys want to get that going, and then look, if you don't know how to burn the OMI, you can hit us in the DMs. We'll walk you through the process. We're going to verify that it actually gets burned, and then we'll do this. And so this is an ongoing thing for the next 6 weeks. Every week, we're going to be doing this OMI burn competition. So there's going to be 6 winners. I would love to see this. I just love the community going out there and being like, you know what, like I'm going to take matters in my own hand a little bit. And like, they just want to see some burn and they're willing to give this utility. So massive shout out to the Golden Dragon Club and Turtle, especially. Turtle, I'm super looking forward to meeting you in real life at New York Comic Con. And it's been fun chatting with you. But guys, start putting your OMI burning bids in there. And look, like the winner might just be burning $1 worth of OMI. Okay. Like, so you just put like what you want to do, but we're going to show you how to do that. And I would love to see some bids in there and really support this community-driven giveaway.
So if you haven't already, go to Doctor of Stuff's Twitter and scroll down, and he's got a video about it right here. So check it out.
Awesome. Hey, there's me. So, my favorite part was when it wasn't me. I was YouTubing something, and then I was showing someone my screen, and someone's like, "Hey, you got a piece of shit on your phone." Oh wait, it's just me. I was like, "Oh my god, that's amazing." Anyway, we have Wubba Wubba going off and saying, "Extremely blessed to mint the #1 gold and silver ticket today. Thank you, VV official. Blah blah blah. It needs a night to sleep on it." Did you guys get any? And then, I mean, I don't know if you really need one. If you have you could have a red ticket. It's going to be the same thing, at least for New York Comic Con. It seems like the gold tickets will be used for future events. They have Dan and David's signature on it. What do you guys think? Do you think they're properly valued, undervalued, overvalued? We don't know enough yet. Let me know your thoughts.
I think that they're probably properly valued because people don't really know like what to expect with it, right? Yeah. And so if they were just like, oh, this is going to provide access for the next like 5 years, I think that would shoot up crazy in price. But if they're just like, well, maybe it's only like the next event, you know, then maybe it's not worth like what, you know. But so it's tough, but like I like this, right? We can sit there and guess. And people can be like, I think that Vivi's going to commit to this. And one of the things and shout out to Magic on Twitter Spaces before we jumped on here, one of the things that she said that's so important is like, you better believe that the Vivi team has been talking to their IP and being like, have you guys thought about adding utility to any of your collectibles, right? And I'm sure that they're pretty gun shy. And so they're like, let us show you what happens when we add utility. And what happens to the price and how much more money we get in compared to the cost of whatever we're doing, right? So they can kind of set that standard and lead the way in that. And then you better believe that these IP partners are going to be looking at that data and saying, okay, this seems to have worked. This is pretty awesome. And we're ready to do that in some way, shape, or form, right? And there's so many different variations of what utility can be. It can be access to something that doesn't necessarily cost the IP any more money. It's already been built out, right? And so they're just like, I mean, there's like an opportunity cost but if people weren't going to go there anyways, but because they have that utility, they end up going. That's the other thing. $15 OMI burn. Let's go, Eddie Brown. I'm loving this. That's awesome. But yeah, like I'm so bullish on that. And part of it is, right, like I posted about this quite a bit this week about the freaking SEC, man. The freaking SEC. And the clarity that these projects are trying to get, right? Like, and I made this super long post about kind of like, so I get so many comments that are just like, oh, you're just making the excuse again, regulatory uncertainty, blah, 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 blah. And I'm like, they're like, other projects aren't doing that. And I'm like, I don't know how to explain it to you any better. Like, just because someone is doing it doesn't mean that it's like legal, right? Or that the SEC views that as okay. And the risk is that the SEC is going to be like, we're deciding that that's not okay, and we're going to target XYZ project, right? And show them a lesson. And what we're starting to see is a lot of times the SEC is targeting projects that they know don't necessarily have the money, right, to fight that in court. And so then they just have to roll over. Now, they did this with XRP. Ripple spent $100 million to fight that. And we got an amazing precedent like out of that. However, a different judge ruled something different from that, right? Like it's still crazy. And like, you guys have to watch, if you go to Bankless HQ, at Bankless HQ on Twitter, they did some snippets of the House Financial Committee basically grilling Gary Gensler, right? And like, for example, one of the things they were just like, do you consider Yankee tickets a security? And Gensler's like, no. And he's like, okay, but you like, if I'm understanding it right, like someone who buys Yankee tickets, the expectation that there's more than likely the expectation that they could sell these tickets for more than they bought them for, right? So there's this expectation of profit. It's based on the efforts of the Yankee team that are doing marketing, that are hiring these players, that are doing all of this. It's very centralized, right? And so then they're just like, they use the example of Stoner Cats. And for those of you guys who don't know, Stoner Cats, I believe like Mila Kunis, she was attached to that. And basically, like, if you own the NFT, you were going to get access to this kind of animated cartoon series. And the SEC went after Stoner Cats, and Stoner Cats paid a fine. And then they had to destroy the NFTs. And one of the questions, this is so crazy to me, right, is they were like, do you believe that is an infringement on our First Amendment right of free speech, of expression of free speech, right? Where we're looking at this artistic expression there, and you're demanding that they destroy that. Is that an infringement on our First Amendment rights? You know, and Gensler's over there like he never gave any answers. And it was just, it was laughable, right? But this is what these projects are dealing with, right? Like, this is what OMI, the Ecomi team, is dealing with. When they initially put out their white paper and they're saying, we're going to do this buyback and burn mechanism, I was super bullish on it, right? And then the SEC started targeting all of these Web3 companies and these projects with the tokens, and they're talking about buybacks, and basically Vivi had to take a step back and be like, we got to see how some of these lawsuits are playing out, like, and we're going to have to backtrack on that because we don't want to be targeted. That's not a fun answer, and it's not fun for these projects as they're trying to build out, right? Like, land of the fee. They're trying to build out these things, and it's so difficult to grow a business when you don't even know what you don't know and what's going to be against the law, according to the SEC. And Gary Gensler's idiosyncratic interpretation of the Howey test, a decision that was made like 60 years ago, right? So anyways, that's my rant there. But I just love what Vivi is doing, and I think that as they demonstrate this added utility that they're giving to their own IP, I think it's going to be, these other IPs are going to feel a lot safer about doing it themselves, right? And then sky's the limit when that happens.
Speaking of burning, I thoroughly enjoy that the tickets that they didn't cost anything. And just quick story, like a lot of the Pokemon cards, that the most expensive ones that are out there, they were given away for free. They weren't the ones that you got to rip open in a pack. They weren't the ones that you could get at maybe an auction. So I like some of the stuff that's done for free, and they burned like 35 million MCP points or 70 million MCP points on all of the tickets for the gold, the red, the blue, and the green. So those are really nice. I really like that. Hopefully the SEC leaves this alone. This is why nobody respects the SEC. Hopefully leaves alone. There were some people that have been saying we should get drops where we get more MCP, kind of like they did for the Happy Tree Friends one. But they're already pretty hyperinflationary. I'd like to see them a bit deflationary. But that's just kind of my opinion on that.
One of our comments brings up a topic we wanted to talk about today anyway, with the dioramas. What do you guys think of the dioramas?
Can I go first before I bounce?
Yes.
Sweet. Here, sir, Tatooine. It's small, out of the way. The Control Trade Federation have no presence there. It's controlled by the Hutts. What are you talking about? The Hutts are gangsters. That scene from Star Wars, for anyone that watched the old movies, Sleeping Comics, if you're out there, and then they start mentioning Tatooine. the amount of people in the audience like, oh, it's Tatooine, because it's such a big, that's where Luke Skywalker is from. That's obviously where Anakin's from. Spoilers. And the fact that you're able to get some of these things, some of these droids, and all this diorama, kind of similar to what they have with like Peter Pan, what they have with the Little Mermaid. If it ain't broke, don't fix it. This is really cool. I've seen people, Clever Jerk, probably creaming his pants right now. That dude loves Star Wars. He got the number 1980 comic today for Boba Fett. I'm not sure if that sold out, but it sold a lot. I think there was only a couple hundred left as of before. This is, and even today, Vivi says, "Hey, Luke Hamill, or Mark Hamill, it's your birthday. Everyone, comment down below a picture of your favorite Luke Skywalker in AR." I did the secret rare for the flex. He's protecting the box of cookie crumbles. Anyway, this is what they continue to need to do. Drop absolute fire. They are cooking. We are eating. I love this game. Sorry, that's not a P. Diddy reference. I'm taking it back. Anyway, that's my thoughts on it.
What about you, Doc?
One thing that I like, I mean, I'm sure that a lot of you guys have seen I just blanked out on the name of the group that builds out all of those epic, like using collectibles, those epic videos and things. The Vaultaholics, jeez. So the Vaultaholics, but like I would look at that and I'm like, man, you got to be so freaking creative, right? Like you would see like the things that they use for like table legs, things, upside down, and I'm like, I would have never thought of that in a million years, right? But with these dioramas, you can get people like me who maybe aren't as creative, and you can still set up some pretty awesome scenes without having to do all of this work and being very inventive in the way that you're using these collectibles. So one of the things that I'm really excited about is just the ability for people to be like, man, I love Star Wars and I love Tatooine, and I legit am going to set up the Tatooine scene, and I'm going to freaking like look at it in AR. In my front yard, Tatooine, right, with Luke and R2-D2 and C-3PO, and they're just like, like whatever, some stormtroopers. Like there's so many different things that they're going to be able to do. For those of you who like, Captain Hook and Peter Pan, Tinkerbell, all of those things and the accessories that are coming, I think it does a couple things. It's going to really help the super fans of certain IP that are just like, I want everything related to this, right? And they're going to enjoy that. They're going to enjoy that experience and utilize that a lot more. So I think that's super clever of it. I love these dioramas and what they're doing, and we'll see. What I guess my question is, what dioramas would you guys like to see come to VV? And you guys in the chat too, put that in the chat.
Death Star.
That would be huge.
I don't know that they could do the whole Death Star, but maybe the bay where they pull in the Millennium Falcon into it, or I don't know. It would be cool that they start doing like some of the big ships and stuff too, like the landing bays in there from Star Wars. I think they started with a good one, Tatooine, right? And I can see like some of these dioramas. I think some of these initial dioramas, somewhat limited, like might be unobtainable for like little kids down the road, but they can always do different dioramas, say for Peter Pan or whatever, right? Because little kids are going to love those things and set them up and then have all their characters. And yeah, I think it's fun that they're going that route.
Yeah, the creativity, and again, you see it on Roblox, you see it on Minecraft, the amount of, because kids, when you don't have really many responsibilities, and school year, you have school, and maybe you could have like a summer job if you're like young, maybe like you mow lawns, rake leaves, whatever, but that's what kids do. They find this project and they complete ADHD on it, and then they go ham and they build these incredible worlds, and they're just absolutely bananas. And one of the reasons why I can't wait for VVverse, I don't know if you're going to need to be KYC'd for certain things in there, but like Doc and like other people, like I'm not that creative as far as building things. So I would love to hire like a kid like that says, here's my Minecraft world, here's what I can build. Other people are going to hire them to be like, hey, am I exhibit in 2002? Because you're going to pimp my ride. You are going to make my VVverse the best awesome thing ever, and they're going to get paid. And they're like, hey, Mom, I just made $100. And she'll be like, what? That's something I'm really looking forward to. Anyway, guys, I do have to bounce. I love you all. Thank you so much for.
Hey, thanks for jumping in, Randy.
Yeah, thanks, Randy.
I love you guys.
Always
Bye. Meow.
Awesome. Glad he was able to make it. We didn't think for a while he'd be able to make it, so I'm glad he was able to jump in for a bit.
Seriously, yeah, it's fun, and I love his his insight and just things that he brings up and he looks at.
So talk to us some more about Stacker, Doc.
Okay, guys, I had not used Stacker very much at all. When it initially kind of came out, like I checked it out and I was like, oh, like it looks pretty cool. But for whatever reason, I didn't really utilize it. But like in the last like week and a half, I have been utilizing it a ton, and it is great. And I'm telling you guys, there's so many people now that have been like, yo, I got into Stacker for the first time, and they're like, it's like mind blowing. Like I love this so much. There's like, the top collectors, there's trends, like what's trending there. And then you can go into a collectible, right? And you can see like what's been minted, and you can see who's buying or minting those. And so one of the things that I've done, I'm going to let you in on a secret, right? So for Fantastic, for number 48, right? The first appearance of Silver Surfer and Galactus, which Comics and Crypto still have a bounty out for the 1966 mint number. If you land that and you want to sell it, they
concentration risk because of
they will pay
how
you.
few entities are able to
What's
offer.
happening? Okay, sorry. 1966 mint. They're willing to pay you $2,500 for that. So like people have slowly been minting that out, right? And I went on to Stacker and I was seeing and I was counting because I think it's like the secret rare. It's like 1 out of every 41 is the probability that you're going to hit the secret rare, right? So I went and I counted how many commons and uncommons and rares and ultra rares had been minted since the last secret rare. And it was at like 70 or 72 or something. And I'm like, you know what, man? Like, I feel like there's a high probability that if I mint some, I'm going to land the secret rare. So I mint it. And the very first one I freaking mint is a secret rare. And I'm just like, oh my gosh. And so that has got me just going on looking at these different collectibles and saying, okay, like whether it's collectibles or comics and being like tracking that stuff. Now, here's my warning. It doesn't always pan out. Like I went for another comic where there had been minted 60 like 7, right, of the common, uncommon, rare, and ultra rares. So I'm just like we're almost there to the 70. I freaking minted like 60 more of those suckers before I got the secret rare. I was just like, what is happening? So it doesn't always work out. And I think one of the things to kind of keep in mind is you're like, did someone hit the secret rare and then someone hit it pretty soon after, right? Where maybe only 3 other comics were minted and then another secret rare was minted. So anyways, what I was going to talk about with like the adrenaline rush that I've kind of been doing is there's quite a few people that are catching on to this, right? So when I was trying to mint that secret rare of this certain comic, I'm like minting and I'm kind of taking my time. It's pretty late at night, and I'm like, and I just keep hitting like commons and uncommons. And like, I'm getting up there, right? Where I'm like, I got to be hitting this like at any minute. And then all of a sudden I see that someone's minted 2 commons like right after me. And I'm like, like someone's been checking that too, right? And I'm just like, oh. So then I'm trying to mint, to make sure that like I get that before they do, right? And but like you can be that person, right? Who's looked and you're like, someone's minting it and still hasn't minted, and I'm going to increase my chances at trying to do that. So like it was super fun. But another one of the things that I was doing is I'd have my actual app on my phone, right? And then I would have the Stacker app. So I'd mint on my phone, and then I would just kind of cycle through like the common, uncommon, rare, ultra rare, and secret rare and wait till that populated. So instead of like waiting for it to populate on my app, I just did it that way. And it was a little bit longer lag time. And I don't know, it was just cool to be like, oh, it didn't show up on the common. It didn't show up on the uncommon. Oh, it showed up on the rare, right? Like, I don't know. It was, yeah, dude, 60 big A, bro. I was not happy. Let's just say I definitely spent more on freaking minting those than if I had just bought like 2 secret rares from the market at the time. But you know what? Like it's part of it. And that's a risk I'm willing to take, but it's just brought some kind of adrenaline rush to me. And I've loved it.
Yeah, Atomic Z06 says each mint is random rarity. Doesn't matter what just got minted. Yes and no. It does work for the same reason that counting cards in 21 works. Because eventually it's a fixed supply. So there's only so many commons, there's so many uncommons, there's so many secret rares. And so the chances start to stack in your favor when a whole bunch of commons been minted and uncommons and no secret rare, just like counting cards works in 21, which is why casinos made it illegal, because it stacks the odds in your favor and not theirs. And for some reason, they don't like that.
Yeah. And so like it is random, but again, like you've got to look at that randomness and saying, okay, if they're saying that 1 out of every 41 is typically, when you're looking at just the numbers, the math of there's 150 secret rares out of 5,000 comics. So like, what's the chance that you're going to get one out of 41? You're right that like, that's not guaranteed, but I would say the likelihood, like Rain was saying about just like that fixed supply, is it's like, if someone's minted 90, right, of comics or collectibles, and that secret rare hasn't hit yet, there's a lot lower supply. So then that probability of hitting that secret rare goes up, right? So anyways, that's the math behind it for me. And like I said, it's been super fun to do that.
Question for you from VV Zombie.
Yes. So I don't think that VV is allowing the price to be shown of like what the collectible actually sold for. I mean, I can't think of like the only thing that I can think of, which is kind of weak, to be honest, is that they're saying, well, like if we're showing the price, then we're kind of saying that there's potential expected profit from this, and so like we don't want to get involved with that. I don't know. I've seen every single platform out there shows the price, so I don't get. Now, like I said, right, just because everyone else is out there doing it doesn't mean that that's still legal. But like honestly, I'm still trying to understand like how that ties into even like the base off the efforts of others. If they're just all they're doing is relaying information and saying this is what it sold for, I can't see that tie-in. So I am hoping that they reverse course on that and they start being able to show like what things sold for. I think that's super valuable to see. Now you can kind of in real time, you can see what the floor is, right? And then you can see like if something just got bought up and you can extrapolate that information, but it's not super user-friendly, right? And so, yeah.
Top OMI burning bid is currently $15. So if you're looking to win the Metabrew beer shipped to you, that's where the bid's at.
You got to be a U.S. resident and over 21. So remember that. And then at the end of the show, right, we're going to talk about, we'll announce who that winner is with that committed OMI burn. Then we'll hit them up in the DMs and we'll get that all squared away. But congrats so far, Ed. So, and
yeah, Tomek, you're not wrong on this statistics. Right. Even card counters are not guaranteed to win, which is absolutely correct, right? Just as the reason 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 is just as likely to win as any 6 numbers, correct? So it does, though, when you have a fixed supply of numbers like that, it does start to stack the odds in your favor, but it's no guarantee that the next one is going to be yours, which is why, the one-time Doctor stuff hit a secret rare the next time, but the next one, it didn't pop for 60 more mints. There's no guarantee. It's just the odds start to stack in your favor over time. And like, that's what card counters play. There's definitely no guarantee, but they recognize when the odds start to stack in their favor and they increase the bid size or how much they're putting down when the odds are stacked in their favor, and they go smaller when the odds aren't stacked in their favor.
Yeah. So to kind of piggyback off that Powerball example, it would be like, okay, so there's these 6 numbers on these different balls, right? But then like that ball, one of the balls of that number is taken out. That number can no longer hit, right? So there's one less common or there's one less uncommon. And so then the odds of hitting, there's now as a ratio of secret rares to outstanding other rarities, it's a higher ratio, right? So then there's a higher likelihood over time that secret rare is going to get hit. So, yeah. But yeah, like you're not guaranteed as I demonstrated. And that's why I wanted to tell both sides of the story, right? Where I hit the secret rare the first time. And then the other time I was just like, oh my gosh, this is so, you should see how pissed I was. I was like,
Randy was watching that when I was with him on the Aliens versus Avengers comic, and he's like, oh my gosh, there's been 23 since the secret rare was minted. And then he would mint a bunch, and like he'd mint like 7 and he'd hit it. It's like, yes. He was watching that number, and it became like its own internal game, which, definitely made it more fun for him. Let's see. Just wish that more of the 6.4 million Star Wars fans on X knew what was going on. Absolutely.
Yeah, and unfortunately, the narrative around NFTs that I still think really has not been taken away is that NFTs kill the environment. And so for most people, they hear the word NFT and automatically shut down. And so like it's a steep hill to climb. And I think that it's going to take some major corporations, much bigger than Vivi, kind of pushing that, right? And that's where I think, like, I don't know if you guys just saw it. So Dr. Profit shared this video of what Facebook or Meta is doing with these glasses now, these AR glasses. And it's pretty phenomenal, right? And I think that that's where this space is headed, is eventually that you'll be able to tie into the blockchain and fix, geolocation. You'll be able to fix some of your collectibles, and people can kind of join your room or join kind of like your collection, and they can see where those things have been pinned. And that's where, and that's in real life, right? That's not even in the metaverse. I think that will also be in the metaverse, but I think we'll get to a point where we can actually see, like, you walk into a house and it's just a blank wall. Then you put on your glasses, and all of a sudden there's all this artwork and all of these crazy things, and people are just like, "What? This is crazy! You have that? There's only like 300 of those in the entire world. Like, that's insane!" Like, and they'll know what the price of those things are, right? Again, this is my thought process, and this might be 20 years from now. I don't know. It might be with all of the AI stuff that's happening. We might get there in 7 years or 5 years.
Yeah, somebody needs to ping Randy on this. I don't know if he saw this comment, but he saw another Dashie today in New York City at the antique store, because there were 2 Dashies when Randy bought one, and he planned to come back and buy the other one, and then the antique store went out of business. So apparently that Dashie, it sounds like it got moved to another antique store, because I think there's only 2 of them. It was made by some rich family, had them made representing their dogs, their Dobermans they had, and they had another, I think, dog entirely made as well, but 2 Dashies and one other dog. Randy was telling me the story because I asked him, "What's the deal with Dashie? What is Dashie?" And he told me what Dashie was. So somebody needs to let him know that Casa J might know where the other one's for sale. All right, tons of comments today. Love it, guys. I'm just reading back through them because somebody was bringing up the goggles, the AR goggles, and I hadn't brought that comment up yet, and you went there, which was perfect. Let me find that comment. Dun, dun, dun. I forgot to flag it. Love when the community does burns, way better than the fudding queens, crying over the process going lower, the prices going lower. Yeah, some people are new to this, and just like they haven't seen the full cycle. They're just newer to these cycles, and it can be really frustrating your first time. It feels like you don't know what's going on. It feels like, oh, the project made all these mistakes, and hadn't they made these mistakes, then the price would be so much higher. If they would just do this, the price would go higher. And most of the time you're just like, sure, yeah, if they didn't make those mistakes, maybe even the price would be higher. But like every project makes mistakes because they're run by human beings. And sometimes with hindsight, we know, oh my gosh, had it gone this way, it would have been much, much better. But at the time, they're having to make a decision in an environment where they're making hundreds and thousands of decisions. So ultimately, like when I was in business school, I went to this entrepreneur series and then have these business leaders come in talking about the starting of their business. And by now they were making millions of dollars, but how it was in the early days. And they said, look, you hope that all the mistakes you make in the beginning don't sink you, that you don't make one big enough that it sinks you, because often that happens. And so the question isn't, are you going to make mistakes? Because you'll make them. The question is, hopefully they're all survivable. And sometimes they're not. So, yeah, still looking for that. I'm not finding it. Doc, what else do you want to talk about?
Well, so if you look at like the third chat from the bottom, from iBreak stuff. They say, I like the Mona Lisa from Elmon X. And I was kind of like, it took me a little bit. I kept seeing some of the community talking about Elmon X, and I'm like, I'm not getting it, guys. I'm like, the Mona Lisa, some of these like art pieces of artwork, they're public domain. So, yep, they did the Mona Lisa, but someone else could do like a different Mona Lisa or a better Mona Lisa. I'm like, I'm just not buying in. Then I did some research, and like for those of you guys who don't know, like Elmon X has this agreement with the only company that basically gets to do like this high definition scanner of the art. So like, it's like you could go to the, whatever, take a picture of the Mona Lisa from like 20 feet away and kind of zoom in on with your camera and take that, and then you can try to mint that from there, right? But it's nowhere near the definition that you're going to get where they're taking this like scanner up super close and getting all of the detail behind that. And I think that is this value that like no one else can offer is just how detailed this actually is to the actual piece of art. So that is something, man. Like, and I've seen some of these pieces on Elmon X go for thousands of dollars, so that's kind of caught my attention. So yeah, if you have one of those Mona Lisas, that's freaking awesome. I break stuff.
There we go. That was the comment I was looking for. Valentine saying, hey guys, the new Mana glasses could be awesome for Vivi's user experience. What do you think? We also had some suggestions for the dioramas. We got the Imperial Bridge from Big A. We had another one that I saw that was freaking awesome. I was like, oh, they totally have to do that. What was that suggestion? Great comments today. Loving this. Having a hard time keeping up with it all.
Oh, I wanted to talk about, Rain, a little bit. I want to get your thoughts on this because you've been in the crypto space longer than me. But I remember the last cycle, I was there. I mean, because I really started researching crypto in general right after I started buying VB stuff in March of 21, right? And so OMI had already just pumped like massive numbers, and then I started getting into other different projects and NFTs and all of this. And I do remember in October, so in September, things went down, but then October really kind of started this mini pump, right? And so you see a lot of times in the crypto space, these people that call it Uptober. And I guess my question is this, because sometimes if enough people believe in it, then it becomes kind of like a self-fulfilling prophecy where they're just like, I've got to buy these tokens because it's going to pump in October. And then it starts that process and people start seeing the tokens going up and they're like, well, I got to buy too, right? And it becomes this self-fulfilling prophecy. So my question is, do you think that that's going to repeat itself again this October?
It's looking that way. If you caught the earlier show today with Paul, you can see him super bullish on what's going on in the charts, that is showing signs that it wants to run. Now, there's two reasons behind that. You have money coming in because the U.S. is decreasing its interest rates, which then people start coming out of holding the dollar and putting them into hard assets. Crypto, actually, all the benefits from that, stocks benefit from that. Crypto tends to see the biggest bump from that. China also is putting a bunch of money into their economy. And so the combination of that, yeah, it looks like it's going to pump crypto. Now, generally, big money movers, they actually take vacations in June, July, August, September. And so then they come back and start making real moves in October. Well, that would correspond with kind of what we're seeing in the charts. It's still a little bit early to see for sure, but it looks like we're building up so that October is going to be maybe a blow up of things and things start running, especially with the U.S. decreasing interest rates by 0.5% and possibly more interest rate cuts to come. It's looking bullish for the crypto space.
Yeah, I'm like, I'm really excited. So one of the projects, and as we're seeing kind of gaming pump, if you guys have seen just recently, I've been talking quite a bit about some of the gaming projects that I'm in, My Pet Hooligan and Gunzilla Games. And what I think, because we've had gaming pumps in the past, right? And then they kind of die down because people are like, oh, it's going to be like Ready Player One. It's going to be this crazy metaverse and like it's going to be amazing, right? But what we've seen is like Axie Infinity or these like little, Dookie Dash or like whatever, right? Like these games that like, sure, like they're fine, but like nothing AAA, right? However, we've gotten enough time now where some of these companies that have been building this game for like 3 to 5 years, and it's crazy. So the Gunzilla games, they're going to be the first crypto gaming project that is releasing on Xbox and PlayStation. And on top of that, like if you see some of these tweets, I'm trying to remember, this guy is connected with Rao Paul, right? Which Rain and I like both love this guy, like extremely smart. This guy's got a Rolodex with like every important person in the world. Like legitimately, this guy is so well connected. And he was talking to this guy in Portugal that's got a massive following, and he was like, he's like, I've been a gamer my whole life, and he's like, I played Gunzilla. Well, it's called Off the Grid. So Gunzilla is kind of the parent company, and they're going to be building multiple games. And Off the Grid, it's the first game that they're building, right? And he's just like, I played this, and he's like, it's actually fun. And that's what we've been waiting for, is a game that people just want to play it because it's fun. And then they're going to get introduced to NFTs, right? And I've kind of talked about this before, where like you're playing this game and you make this accomplishment, and it's like, congratulations, you just won like the diamond like sword, which is like this super secret rare. There's only like 50 of them. Would you like to sell this in the marketplace? And it's like, what? And then it's like, oh, and the floor on this is like $7,000, right? And I say these kind of numbers because like I've seen some of these games with like some of these rare guns and things, these shooter games that are going for like $50,000, $75,000, right? And they're not even NFTs. Like, so I mean, anyways, I'm so excited for kind of the release of that, and I think that that's some of the things that could really kick off the bull run. But then I think that that's where the NFT narrative is going to come in, because people are going to be talking about these games. They're going to be talking about the NFTs that they got in these games, and they're going to be like, what other NFTs are out there? And that's where I think that like Vivi, they could look at Vivi and be like, this is like Batman and Superman and all of the IP that I'm nostalgic for, right? And they're just like, I need to snatch up some of these things. And then with OMI to NFT, right? If people are like, the only way I can get this NFT is like, I've got to buy OMI. Oh, but I can just literally use my credit card to buy it on the Stacker app. Bam, like, man. So again, like that's one of the potential narratives. It's not guaranteed, but I see these type of things, and I'm like, there's so many different ways that this could play out that will benefit OMI and the digital collectibles on the VV app.
So if you're here for the crypto investment side of things and you're not following Raoul Pal, you are missing out. This guy's been in the investment space for, 40 years. And one of the key things I learned when I grew up pretty poor, I would say lower class or lower middle class, but somewhere in there, and it depended on the year. And I realized I didn't want to be poor my whole life. I wanted to be rich. So part of becoming rich is learning how to think like the rich think. And what's crazy is you learn to think like they think, you start having similar results to them, and you can change your fortunes tremendously. This guy is the guy to follow, Raoul Pal, and he talks about what is coming. And this will give you the bigger vision that's not specific necessarily to one project, specific to the crypto space, and why like he loses sleep at night. And he knows every investment class out there and has been doing this for 40 years. He is a personal advisor to many sovereign wealth funds and massive amounts of money, very sophisticated, and he explains things so articulately. So you're looking for Real Vision. He is the CEO and co-founder of it. You'll see Real Vision. It's got 709,000 subscribers. He is fantastic. If you're not following him, give him a follow, because when he talks about the everything code and what is going on in the shift that's going into crypto, then you'll start to see like what is really going on in the crypto space. Not taking things from the news and just some YouTuber that has like a year of experience in crypto. Yeah, this is somebody who's a savage investor. And if you learn to think like he thinks, you're going to have better results in the investment space.
Yeah. He's awesome. And I think maybe it was you, Rain, who introduced me to him because he had this one video, and it was called the exponential age.
Mhm.
Oh my gosh, you guys got to Google Raoul Pal, the exponential age, and you're just like, holy crap! I'm so bullish on the space and where crypto and blockchain are going. I mean, look, we're continuously seeing these major Web2 companies, like they understand, like this is where things are going, right? Visa just made this announcement. They continue to make these type of announcements of like they're trying to get their foot in the door and seeing like what's going to work and what makes sense, right? But like state of California just put all of the car titles for the whole state of California on Avalanche blockchain, right? Like, so they can track all of that. And then it's like, oh, well, we can see if this has been totaled, who owns it now, who owned it before. Like, so the car gets stolen and things, and then someone's trying to use like a fake title. It's all there on the blockchain, right? Like, so it's going to minimize fraud. So there's so many different like use cases for this technology. I'm so excited about that. And NFTs, I know that, again, a lot of the public have been misinformed and are uneducated about what NFTs are. But there will come a time when there will be these companies that are incentivized to educate, their consumers. And as that happens, man, I just think that this is where it's going. Like my kids, all they want to do is play on the iPad. They want to play these games, and like it's everything is digital. Everything is digital now for them, So super excited about it.
Yeah, they'll be walking around with their iPads, and they'll be using like Peter Pan's like diorama, and they'll be putting Tinkerbell and other things there. Like that is where this is going. This is the video, by the way, that you want to watch. Raoul Pal, welcome to the exponential age, and an hour and a half, one of the best hour and a half you could spend. If you're here as an investor, you'll want to understand what is going on in the bigger picture. Why these little like, oh, it just went lower. Oh my gosh, I'm so frustrated. You got to see the bigger picture so you don't get washed out with these little like emotional hits, because there's tons. If it were easy to become rich in crypto investing, everyone would do it. But 95% of people, well, specifically 90% of people do quite poorly. 5% do okay. It's the remaining 5% that does massively well. Kind of like my investment I was giving the story of earlier. How many people do you think got shaken out by the decreases month after month after month? 90%. 90%. Probably about 5% sold as the prices got decent and somewhat recovered, and 5% held on and made the kind of money that's like incredible, like 100+ X, especially for those that held on and did 1,000X or several 1,000X. Like that's life-changing. $1,000 turning into $1 million, your life starts to get better. Now, $1 million in most countries these days, it won't retire you. But if you roll that $1 million into some good investments and compound it from there, then you can be set for life.
Yeah. I mean, Big A, so it says crypto isn't difficult. It just requires patience. Like that's difficult, man. Like, look, I talk to Rain pretty frequently. And even so, I was just saying, like, and talking with Crypto Cosmo too, I'm just like, man, I'm tired, like, and again, part of it is these VCs that are just freaking screwing me, like, and it, like, well, not the VCs, but the projects that have been raised through VCs that I'm super unhappy with. It's sad to see kind of like the dishonesty in the space still. Like, even though some of my tokens have done really, really well, but I'm just like, I am freaking ready for this bull run, and like, this is someone like, I feel like I'm pretty educated in the space and investing and everything. And it's just like, wow, it is mentally draining. And so when you say like, it requires a lot of patience, like that is the difficult part. And it's like, again, when something continues to go down and you're just like, you know what, I just got to cut my losses. I'm out, right? They're just like, I can't stand it anymore. And we've seen some of the OMI community, like that used to be pretty big whales that are just like, nope, I don't believe that. Like, I mean, maybe I hope it does well, but like, I'm chasing these 2 to 3 X's over here, and they're happy with that. And like, I'm super happy for them, right? They got to do what's best for them. But I'm in this space to try to make the biggest gains possible. And I think that one of the ways to do that is to find these projects that truly have fundamentals. Because right now we do see the memes that have no fundamentals, and it's gambling. And I think that people are just bored. And so it'll continue to happen. But at some point, as things start to go up in this space, whether it's because financial institutions continue to start buying more and more Bitcoin, and the Bitcoin goes up, right? And that's rolled into other projects, whatever that is. But I'm in it for the ones that people are just like, there's a strong use case for this token. And I want to get into that. I want some exposure to that. Those are the projects that have done extremely well, right? And so I'm laying my chips with some of these projects, with crypto gaming, AI, and especially Ecomi and OMI.
Yeah, back to this. I love it at the end. Made my biggest gains doing nothing, just holding for years. Like, that's the key right there, is doing nothing, just holding for years. And some people can't. They just have to get in there and trade. They got to try to make these swings instead of just holding. Now, I know several people that are rich from crypto. In fact, geez, I met some more whales over this last weekend. Like one of my buddies from 15 years ago, I knew him. I didn't know he was doing so well. He flew out on his one of 2 private jets, and flew his family and his little dogs and everything. And we met up and went to the cabin owned by one of the co-founders of Gala. And we caught up for hours and hours. It was awesome. And the guy's worth like $500 million. Made some good moves. He's got 50 million to 100 million deployed into crypto. And it's deployed pretty smart. And I'm like, oh my gosh. By just waiting, like, what is going to happen for his investments? He went through them. I was like, oh my gosh, so he's been deployed for a year or two, doesn't care what the price is now, only cares what the price is a year from now. He thinks about it just right. Like, he got a whole bunch of Bitcoin back prior to 2017. In fact, he holds $80 million worth of Bitcoin today. And that's just sitting on the side money. And I was just like, yes, another person that thinks about this right. And the kind of money he's deployed, I was like, that's going to be so massive for him. Like, that's going to probably turn into 5 billion to 15 billion from that investment in just the next, 6 to 18 months, likely in the next 12 to 18 months. It's going to be crazy. So a lot of people get washed out because it does feel like you're getting kicked while you're down and get kicked while you're down. And literally Big A gave the secret right there. It really just requires you doing nothing and just holding for years. Do you realize how many people washed out of that investment? The story I was telling you earlier, just because they just couldn't take it and they just couldn't wait. And some of your projects might even fail, but if you're diversified, some of them will go well. If you're diversified and you're buying really, really smart, some of your things are going to do exceptionally well. So Doc was talking about pre-sale investments. I will warn you, with pre-sale investments, I hardly do anymore because I found a couple things. Number one, if you invest through a VC and you don't have a huge amount of sway yourself, what happens is, I was in a few investments and they got really bullish before they launched, like things were going to go really well for them. And guess what they did? They refunded the VCs I was in and said, oh, here's your money back. I know it's been tied up with us for 6 months, but here's your money back. We're not letting you in because we want to bring in XYZ influencer that has, 1 million followers. And we want to give them 150,000 investment into this. And they would, so the ones that you were set up that were going to do really good, you got refunded on, unless you had a really big name that they didn't dare refund you. So, and I wasn't invested directly. I was invested through some other people. And I was like, oh, and 3 of those went like 800x, like crazy numbers. And they all got refunded. And so I felt like I had lopsided things, because all the ones that aren't going to do well, you don't get refunded on those. And number 2, they can change your vesting tokens. I don't know that they can, but they do it anyway, because they figure, what are you going to do? Sue me? And they just change your vesting and stuff. So I found the sweet spot of what I like during the bear market. I especially like projects that launched somewhere between 2 to 6 years ago, maybe as early as a year ago, but preferably 2 to 6 years ago. So you have a good bearing on, is the team still working hard after they get funded? because sometimes you find out with pre-sale investments that they raise $20 million and they launch a project and they don't do crap with that. They're like, yes, we're rich. Like they think that's their exit money. And for them, it is their exit money, and they don't build with it. And they just literally pretend to work for like 6 months and then just like disappear. That is another thing that happens. So like by the time 2 years after launch, you have a good idea like who the team is, if they're going to work. And that was a part of my portfolio that did the very best from 2018 to 2020. And so unfortunately, I really only realized this like a year ago. It's like, you know what, the real sweet spot, like it really hit home. The real sweet spot is projects that launched 2 to 6 years ago. They're working really hard. Their token has been massively punished by the bear market. And they're doing something that fundamentally could change within the narrative that they're in. Which
Yeah, I mean,
OMI falls right in there, right? Which is why I'm so big on OMI. Some people say, Rain, would you be so bullish on OMI if their token was $50? No, I'd be selling. Why? Like, what upside are you going to get if you're buying at $50? Or even if you're buying at 50 cents? That's what I call buying high, hoping it goes higher. So would I be bullish on what's going on? Well, I would be bullish on selling. That's when everyone will want to buy in. They'll be like, oh my gosh, Rain, I heard about OMI from you and I'm so excited. And I just put $5,000 in at 50 cents a piece. And I'll be like, what? No, what are you doing? Yeah, but I saw your video from a year and a half ago. It's like, did you look at the price a year and a half ago? Like, that's a totally different price than you just bought it. Yeah, but you said it's a good project. Price matters. When you're an investor, to make money in crypto, you have to buy low and sell high. So a lot of people buy high and they sell much lower, and that goes bad for them. They buy low and it goes down on them some more, and they sell much lower. For some reason, that doesn't work out for them. In order to do well at this, I just dollar cost average at the bottom. When the problem with buying the bottom is you don't know where the bottom is, so you buy thinking it's near the bottom, and then it goes down some more. So then I buy some more, and then guess what often happens? It then goes down some more. And then I buy some more, and it goes down some more. But then I just wait till their narrative, the bull market comes and their narrative hits. And that's where the huge, huge gains are.
Yeah, I mean, it's tough for me because last bull run, I got in kind of later to the VC game, and what was happening is the VCs would like get these projects that were like, we're going to be launching in like 2 months, right? And so I'd buy in, and like because it was still the bull run, I mean, it was like I would I would buy in, and then they launched 2 months later, and like on the first distribution that I was getting my money back or more, like every single time, right? So I'm just like, oh my gosh, this is amazing. VCs are the way to go. And then over the bull run, the bear market right now, it's been very interesting because there's been some very significant projects that have hit, but like the vesting is super long. Like I invested in Celestia like 2 years ago or something, right? And I still haven't got my tokens yet from it, but I'm just like, man, what they're building, this data availability later, I think that's super awesome. And then some of the gaming things, but like now what I'm finding out is that kind of like what Rain was saying, experience where some of these tokens are starting to do really, really well. And these they're basically just reneging on like a contract, right? It's a contract. Super pissed about that. But I mean, I still have a lot of spot buys in a lot of projects that I'm super stoked on, but like, man, lesson learned on that. And this is part of the space, like just learning these things. But like, I'm not complaining. Some of my VC projects, even during the bear market, have done extremely well for me. But it is wild. And I'm kind of like learning from Rain and some of the things that he's saying. And it's funny because Rain and I don't necessarily agree on certain things. We just had this disagreement a couple of days ago on a certain token. And I'm just like, no, man, like, I just don't think that it's going to do this unless this happens. But it's fun. It's fun to just have these discussions. And like, I hope that one of the main things why we do this channel is hopefully we're educating people, like giving our experience. I don't know everything, right? Like Rain doesn't know everything, but he's had some significant success. Maybe he does. I'd love to ask his wife if she thinks he knows everything. But anyways, like I think it's important, and that's why like the community is everything for me, guys. And so first and foremost, shout out to my collectibles, who is like the eye of Sauron. This guy sees everything and he's everywhere. He's like constantly in Twitter Spaces. Like he gave us a shout out. I see O'Milly Tees. That guy is everywhere too. He's doing Twitter Spaces. So many freaking Twitter Spaces. And what I like about O'Milly Tees too, I was telling this in the Twitter Space, is I'm like, you're doing something right when you're pissing off the Fudders and the Moon Boys, right? When the Moon Boys are like, how dare you say this, right? Because you're calling out things, you're like, this needs to be improved. And then like other times you're shouting out and you're like, hey, this is Vivi's doing this really great. And they're like, oh, I thought you were a Fudder like us. It's just funny. And like, so shout out to Millie. Like the guy he busts his butt, man. Like I love that. And so there's just so much added like work that the community is doing, and this is part of it, like having these conversations. Hopefully we're informing you just with our experiences. Look, everyone has they're at a different stage of life with different finances and everything, right? So like we're just talking about what we are doing, right? And this is never financial advice. I know that people say that, but like please take that to heart, right? Just because I'm doing something doesn't mean it's right for you, and just because Rain's doing something, kind of put it that way, Rain's doing something doesn't mean it's right for me, right? Like there's some things that Rain's done, I'm like, yeah, I can't pull that off, right? You've got a bigger bag than me to be able to get into some of these things, and I have to be a lot more picky about the projects that I can enter into. But one of the things that I kind of wanted to, so Bill Gardner's talking about Kopi making great progress. That's another game that I am so bullish on, guys. If you have not looked at Cornucopia's game, oh my gosh. I invested in the pre-sale in Cornucopias. I still hold the token, so full disclosure, right? I love what they are building. Like it's amazing. It's this MMORPG game, and like what they are building is so incredible. The visual aspects of it. They have a racing game that's already out right now that people are playing, but they're like building out this world, and like it's crazy, right? Like there's like day and night cycles. So you're like walking. If you don't have a vehicle, you're like legit walking for like miles. And you can run and stuff, but like it can take you quite a bit of time to get certain places. And anyways, they're just building all of this out. And the team, I love what the team is doing. Every week they have a Kopi cafe, and they just talk about like what they're building, and they have these little leaks and stuff. Oh, I'm super bullish on that game. And like I'm really excited to actually playing it. So yeah, shout out to that, Bill, with that. But I wanted to, so one of the utilities of the Ecomi SR collectible is, there's this group that Mr. MC1 has created, this Telegram group, and I go in there every week and I just say, hey, is there anything that you guys want us to talk about? So one of them said, let's see, share some ideas on how to make OMI great again. And I think that actually the team is doing a pretty good job of building out, like the OMI to NFT is going to be massive, guys. It might not be like initially, right? There might be like a little bit of a pump or some excitement, but it's over time, again, as a narrative potentially hits. If that narrative hits and the OMI to NFT is there, oh my gosh, I truly believe that OMI will be great again. But some of the things that I think that would be very useful on Stacker is the ability to freaking make offers on that, and like in OMI to say like, hey, I'll buy this for this much OMI, and utilize it that way, and to be able to message, like there's so many things that are kind of missing to make basically flat offers. You're like, hey, I'm gonna send out this message, and I will pay anyone $30. Maybe the floor on a collectible is $40 or $35, and you make a blanket offer to every single person that has that collectible, and you're saying, I'm willing to pay $30 for the first person who wants to sell it to me for $30, right? And then people can be like, I get this message and I'm just going to sell right then. That will create so much more liquidity and movement of some of these things, and that's where you'll see prices go up on that. And again, if OMI is being used on that, I think that is an excellent way to facilitate that. So I'm hoping that the ability to make offers and to make blanket offers, and to find people who have certain collectibles. And I mean, while they're still keeping their message, so what could happen is you were like, I'm looking for this number, and they're like, okay, well, send a message, and you're not going to know who it's sent to, right? Because maybe they have the profile on private or something. And I'm trying to think if that's going to even work on Stacker. It might not be in private with the blockchain stuff, but anyways, I mean, they can respond, right, and say, hey, nope, I'm good, or I would take this much, right? So maybe you do this $30 blanket offer, and someone's like, I take $33 in OMI. So that's one of the ways that I think that we could definitely see the utilization of OMI creep up, where people are wanting to use OMI on the Stacker app for that. What about you, Rain? Anything in particular that you think that the Ecomi team could be doing to make OMI great again?
Some of it is just the timing coming together, or the narrative hitting, right? So sure, there's actually a lot of community members finding ways like Metabrew to create a burn, which gets people excited about things. Dr. Profit building Stacker in coordination with the team has been amazing. So the truth is the team is doing a lot to make Ecomi great again, because they're building out VV. And what I need from the team is I need really, really good collectibles that people want to collect. I love what's happening with Stacker. I didn't see that coming 6 months ago, with how big that is and how cool that is. Having APIs and being able to integrate with the VV app, that's awesome. And it solves a major problem of concern about the SEC coming in and saying, yeah, all your digital collectibles are just on one market, and you have control of that market, and you have control of your token. So we're going to deem you as having too much control, and we're going to go after you, like they did with NFL All Day and NBA Top Shots, the Flow blockchain, and Dapper Labs, who had control of all that. And so they had to pay a big fine, and they have to decentralize and create another marketplace. So thankfully, Ecomi was able to look at that and set things up that direction. So what more things could they do? Just keep doing what you're doing. Keep landing huge IP that people want to collect. That's what I need from you. And David's on top of that, right? He is a massive collector himself, so he knows what IP. And some drops that come out, I'm like, nah, who cares? And some that come out, I'm like, yes, first Wolverine, holy cow, right? Thanos, that one was awesome. Some of these collectibles, awesome. The dioramas, awesome. A lot of these things, really, really cool, right? The Avengers building, awesome. Cool. They're doing great things. That's what I need from them. And then when the narrative hits, things will take off. What people are really frustrated about is just impatience. Oh my gosh, it hasn't run yet. Oh my gosh, gaming narrative is running and OMI is doing nothing. That's just part of the crypto space. What can one company do to turn the whole narrative around? Well, sure. Yes, if you secretly pay Logan Paul under the table $1 million, and you secretly pay a whole bunch of different people to then shill it, maybe you kick. I don't want them. I'm having some internet trouble. A collectible that people want to come in and collect, in an app that people want to come in and use and collect the stuff on it. I want them to nail that out of the park way better than all their competitors. And so far they've been doing that. Just keep doing that. Because based on that alone, when this narrative hits of, oh my gosh, this idea of digital collectibles is amazing, people will just come over in droves. So I feel like they're hitting it out of the park on that. And that's the number one thing I need them to do.
Love that. So Big A asks this great question. He says, and maybe it's a tough question, right? But we obviously know why OMI's had to pivot and separate from VV. Dapper Labs and that whole lawsuit, right? And the judge basically saying, because it's tied to this ecosystem. Ecomi teams had to pivot a little bit. So then he says, does that hurt its ceiling? I still think it does well, but struggle to see 100x to 200x, some say. So I'll just say this, there's going to be people who want the OMI token to utilize, to experience the utility of it, right? They want to buy these NFTs at a discount because they don't have the 10% cash out fee. So people are going to buy it just for that. But then part of it is just speculation, guys. So if the narrative hits, right? Like, I mean, I'm talking about the carrot token right now, and the carrot token is pumping. There's no connection right now to the carrot token in the game. There's nothing. And yet the token's pumping, right? Now it's not pumping 100x or 200x right now because the bull run's really not in. But like, I think what's the biggest thing is accessibility to the token. That's a big deal. So for the people who want to utilize the utility of the token, it's going to be very important that people can go onto the Stacker app and just use a credit card and purchase OMI. That's what, like, your Web2 person, they're going to come in and they're like, I don't know what this OMI thing is, but like, it'll be like gems where they're like, okay, I can buy OMI with my credit card and then I'm going to get a discount on this collectible. Sweet, right? Like they're going to learn very fast. But then as long as, and this is where I've kind of hinted at this before, but my belief is one of the big things that the team, Ecomi team, when they're looking at like the Howey test, is they're trying to actually make true utility. So soft staking, it is utility. It's not true utility, like, you know, but OMI to NFT is very fundamental utility for that token. And I think that once they get that, they can go to exchanges and say, we are a utility token. And some of those exchanges, like, we feel like there's no concerns here with the Howey test or that you're going to be labeled as security. And so US exchanges would be more likely to list that token or be okay putting that token on that. And I think that that's one of the big things, that if we can get OMI on Coinbase, right? Or I mean, even on Binance, those are big exchanges where the world really utilizes that. If we can get that, then honestly, Big A, I absolutely think that people will be able. That token could absolutely pump 100x, 200x, easy, even though it's disconnected from the VV app.
Yeah, I don't think it'll become a problem that's disconnected from the VV app, especially if you can buy OMI on Stacker using your credit card. I think that'll be amazing.
Wait, go ahead.
That'll be one of the biggest innovations if people can come in and buy OMI just using their credit card. Because one of the cool things that made VV Collectibles do well, in some ways it held them back, in some ways it helped them do well, was people could come in and buy with a credit card. One of the things that held them back is if they had money in crypto and they're trying to bring it into the app, they then had to get it out of crypto into their bank and then bring it into, you know, their credit card or debit card to bring it back into the ecosystem. And that slowed them down. That was like a strength and a weakness. But imagine then you have the strength of people can buy gems or they can buy collectibles using their credit card, or they can buy them using OMI, and they can buy OMI just using their credit card. Then, yeah, that will be massive. And what was interesting about the massive run up we had before, OMI was one of the biggest gainers. And it was on like some random exchange that newbies had the hardest time figuring out how the heck to get it. And yet it still ran up so much. And so when digital collectibles take off, like VV is something brand new investors can wrap their mind around. Like one of the reasons meme coins do really well is because there's not a lot for people to understand. So when they come into crypto, the projects that they can easily wrap their mind around, like, can go crazy in that environment. Even some of the meme coins that really have no fundamentals behind them whatsoever. And they pump like crazy, and it's like, well, oh well. But they're just easy to understand because there's almost nothing to understand there. People are just like, oh, it's fun. All right, let me put in $100,000 because it's fun and hopefully it goes up. Oh boy. You know, but VV, they're like, oh, these collectibles and stuff, and digital collectibles are going this way. They can wrap their mind around it pretty easy. And they say, what's the token behind it? And then they just sometimes throw crazy money in the token. Unfortunately, many of them will miss the window now that it's dirt cheap. And they'll come in and the price might be 30 or 40 or 50x from here. And they'll message me and they'll be like, Rain, oh my gosh, I just bought $100,000 worth of OMI. I'll be like, you know, like those of us who are buying the bottom, we're up 50x. Like, I don't, you know, it probably go up from here, but at what point it flips around, I don't know. But like, you might only get a 2x if you're lucky. Like, you're lucky if you get a 2x or a 4x or a 6x. like, oh my gosh, you miss buying the bottom. So your potential returns are nothing like those who were buying when it was really, really cheap.
So I got another question from the Ecomi SR group that says, and I'd like to know your opinion on this, Rain. I just scrolled down. Do you think that OMI or collectibles will be more in demand when the ball gets rolling?
I think OMI's easier to wrap your mind around because the collectibles, some things might 1,000x. There might be a few collectibles that go like 1,000x. Good luck picking that one, right? Like, and there might be some that do like a 4x when the market runs. So it's like what you're buying on the app makes all the differences to how your returns are. We saw that last bull market that some things went up and some things went up tremendous amount. So what you're buying makes all the difference. Like if you're buying stuff that's just fun, but a lot of people don't really want it, doesn't really get high demand, it won't pump near as much as some things that could go absolutely crazy that everyone decides they have to have that piece. There's scarcity versus what the demand is, and the price just goes crazy. So we'll see.
Yeah, I think that's a great point, right? Is like it's easier to just buy OMI and be like, this is tied to the ecosystem, and so this could definitely still do very well, as opposed to being like, there might be some collectible out there that just pumps insane, right? But being able to pick which one that's going to be can be a lot harder than just having the OMI token and having that exposure there. So yeah, I mean, look, and like we talked about earlier about utility, if some of these major IPs do retroactive utility on something, those things could pump crazy depending on what that utility is, right? I mean, man, like that's one thing that I like about VV is there's so much potential. Now, whether or not they hit that potential, like that's the risk, right? That they might not, but there's so many different things that, again, as we get more regulatory clarity in the space, they'll know what they can do and be like, this is within the boundaries that we can play in, the sandbox that we can play in, and offer these type of things. And look, there's projects out there that are doing that. There's this company that is sued out of Texas that sued the SEC preemptively about airdrops, right? And they're like, we're suing you so that you can get a response so that we can know whether or not airdrops are allowed or if that's considered a security. And look, freaking all of us VV users, we really missed out on an airdrop from IMX on the IMX token or Arbitrum. Was it Arbitrum? No, it wasn't Arbitrum. Maybe it was IMX token. I'm trying to remember. But basically, like they were like, hey, any of the users that utilized our platform are going to get this airdrop of the token. And it's like all of the U.S. investors, U.S. customers of VV couldn't get that right now because all of these projects are like, we're not sure what it is in the U.S., so we'll just airdrop it to the people that we feel comfortable knowing that there's going to be no issues with that, right? So that type of regulatory clarity is going to be so important. And once we get that, if there are things where these IPs have the go-ahead, that green light to offer utility, and they've seen what VV's been able to do with it already, oh man, things should go crazy. So
Bitcoin isn't necessarily inflationary. I guess it is a little bit in that there's a certain amount printing off every 10 minutes. OMI is deflationary. Wouldn't the argument be that Bitcoin's better investment than OMI? Like, inflation isn't necessarily a good thing. But it's a known amount of inflation with Bitcoin, right? And it curves off and falls off that eventually there's no more Bitcoin being minted. So it's a schedule that unlike, the US dollar. Yet tell me how much is going to be printed as a percentage of current outstanding US dollars. How much more is going to be printed next year? We don't know. It could be 10% more. It could be 20%. It could be 50% more. So we don't know. And that's why people are choosing Bitcoin over the US dollar, not only as a hedge against currency, but at like a store of value like gold. OMI, I'm buying OMI. It's much riskier than, say, Bitcoin because Bitcoin might do, if we're really lucky, Bitcoin will do a 10 or 12x from here, which would be amazing if it did those kind of numbers. maybe it'd only do like a 3x from here. OMI during that time period when the digital collectibles narrative hit could do a 50x to like 500x. So, so those that want more security, Bitcoin's a way better thing for them. And those that want to take the risk of something that could outperform it if it goes well, then OMI is a better investment for them.
Yeah, I think that there's two very different use cases for OMI and for Bitcoin, right? I think that a lot of institutions and even like retail investors, they're going to be looking at Bitcoin as kind of like a store of value, as like a hedge against money printing, inflation, things like that. Whereas the OMI token is going to be tied to the utility of the VB app. And so when you're saying the better investment, it depends on what your expectations are, because what's more risky, I think OMI is more risky. But typically with a higher risk, there's a higher reward, right? If things pan out. Like, I don't think that Bitcoin's going to be doing a 10x in the next year. I don't think that's going to happen. But could OMI do a 10x in the next year? Like, yeah, absolutely, right? Could it do more than a 10x? Yes. But there is the chance that like it doesn't pan out. And then your returns are lower than potentially than what Bitcoin's would be, right? Because I think Bitcoin's still got some room to go this cycle, quite a bit of room. But those returns, the potential returns, are a lot higher on OMI, just because like the market cap. I mean, just math, right, on that. So, but better investment, like I'm never going to say one way or another. Again, it's going to depend on every single person's individual situation, what they want and what makes sense for them. If I'm like a multi-millionaire, right, decamillionaire and stuff, I might throw some money into OMI. I mean, look, I would definitely throw money into OMI. I'm already doing that anyways, and I'm not a decamillionaire. But like for me, all of a sudden, when I got millions of dollars on the line, it's like, you know what? Like a 4x sounds amazing with that much money, and I need it in a safer potential, token. So that's a different situation, right? But for me, I'm looking for those potential massive returns. I feel like I'm in a good spot financially. I would love to be independently wealthy. That's my goal, right? And so I don't think that me buying Bitcoin in the short term is going to do that for me. Where some of these other tokens, they have the chance of a much, much higher return. They can help me leverage and get to that point.
Yeah, my personal approach has been like to have the riskier stuff till you get to a point where you're worth at least $40 million. And some people, that number just seems like unfathomable. And if you believe that really strongly, unless you change that, you won't be able to get there because you will self-sabotage. What's funny is what we believe becomes a self-fulfilling prophecy. I have been thinking a lot about why so many people like mess up in crypto. Even though you try to help them understand the bigger vision of patience when things are down and just waiting till the bull market really hits, until the narrative that they've made investments in pops, and taking the full ride that way. When you make, make research bets where you did a lot of research to buy companies that had a good team and a strong narrative, then, my belief on what I've been doing is just holding those. And every once in a while, some of them fail and go out of business. And that's disappointing. But most of them within that narrative taking that approach, survive until the bull market. And if they just do that, usually their narrative then hits and they pump tremendously. So it takes some long-term vision. It takes you don't have to trade every day. Like people ask me, what do I do every day in crypto? Like trading, do you trade? I was like, I sometimes buy more, like once every 2 or 3 or 4 weeks. Like I'm hardly trading at all because I put most of my investment dollars in. So I redeployed all my capital during the bear market. And the only time I'm making buys when something goes up that I can then, it's done decently well, I can reallocate the capital to something that's even cheaper that I like just as much and take that little bit of arbitrage. But for the most part, I'm just patiently waiting. And that's how all the people that I know that have made massive wealth in crypto, that's how every single one of them do it. This whole trading every day and trading every week, I don't know anyone that's made wealth through doing that in crypto. That Big A was talking earlier, they tried that in 2017, 2018, become the best trader in crypto ever. And he realized that just buying and holding for the long term was the route to go. And then he did significantly better. Like, that is the way. That is the way that everyone I know that made significant money in crypto did it. But that's not what everyone thinks they need to do. And they come in, they try to take these pumps that, they 1x or 2x or like, oh my gosh. And then they end up buying something that goes down 90% and their whole portfolio gets wrecked doing that, trying to make these short-term trades rather than just buying, waiting it out. And when you buy low, sometimes it goes lower. Ecomi's the perfect example of that. Like, Ecomi's charts are the perfect example of buy low and then it goes lower on you. You buy some more and then it goes lower on you. Buy some more and then it goes lower on you. And it feels like a never-ending cycle. And guess what? With that, so many people have washed out and they're no longer in a place that they get to see the upside. All that patience they had, but they gave up early. They're going to look back and be like, well, shoot. Man, if I just would have waited 2 months, or I would have waited 6 months more, or 9 months more, I would have made 50x or 100x or 500x or whatever the numbers are. Yeah, they'll have a good story. And some of them will learn from that story. Most of them will just say, crypto's bad, crypto's dumb. The truth is there's massive wealth to be made here if you're doing the right things. You're learning to think like a savage crypto investor. And if you're not, you're probably going to get wrecked. And savage crypto investor just means taking research positions on something with a good team and a good narrative and a strong reason why they might survive, buying it cheap and waiting till the bull market hits, and then selling when everybody's talking about that project. Yes, that's an oversimplification. It really is that simple. And that's what the 5% that make massive wealth in crypto, that's what they do. That's where all the money is made. But that's not what most people do. They chase into something that just went up 50x. Oh my gosh, my friend made 50x on this. I'm going to throw $15,000 on it because surely it's going to do another 50x. They think in their mind. Doc, if something just went 50x, what are the chances that it's even going to go another 10x from there?
I mean, it depends, right? But like a lot lower likelihood, right?
Yeah. And even if it should go another 10x from there, guess what they do? They hold because they think it's going to do 50x. Mm-hmm. Then it reverses to below what they bought at. Why? Because it went up 50x before they even bought in. So surely at their point, it's going to go a lot cheaper when the pendulum swings back than what their buy-in price was, and they're going to get wrecked. And I see that happen over and over and over again. Cool. All right. Just know that the crypto market is looking really bullish, and like there are some massive increases. Let me read off some of these over the past 7 days that have popped. BitTensor up 63%. It was up earlier today, even more than that. WorldCoin is up 32%. SEI up 31%. Aptos up 26%. Immutable X up 24%. Hopefully you're watching my videos like 9 months ago when it hit like under 40 cents. And I was like, oh my gosh, this one's so cheap. It's now up at $1.71. It was up earlier, like a few months back at like $3. Sui's up 23%. Pendle is up 19%. Like there's a lot of green in the altcoin markets this last 7 days. Is it going to continue? We'll see. We'll see. Sometimes it pops up and then it pops back, but one of these times it's going to pop up, come back a little bit, and then it's just going to continue running. We're at that point where that's probably going to be soon. Yeah.
I'm super excited to see where this is going. Listen, we're going to do last call here for the OMI burn bid. We got a top bid right now of $15 by Eddie Brown. Eddie, please just DM me a little bit too. We'll see if someone else does, but you're going to need to hit me up in the DMs at Dr. Stuff on Twitter and make sure that we can communicate if you end up being the top one. So I don't know if you're still here in the chat, but we definitely need to know that there. One of the things also that I was going to hit, Ray, kind of piggyback off what you were saying about selling. And I'm trying to see, I think it's Jason Pena, who was basically like, holding is easy, it's selling that's hard. And I came across that, right? Like one of the projects that I talked about for a while was Animal Concerts. And last summer, it was down super low. And I was like, look, like there's not a lot of things that are happening right now, but like I'm willing to take this risk. And so I was buying it at like 0001 or something, or 001. I can't remember the numbers, but long story short, I was buying it during the summer at a super low price. And then in December, when the Apple Vision Pro was being announced, right? So Animal Concerts, their project was to do concerts in the metaverse. And so with the Apple Vision Pro being announced, like this, like it kind of hit this narrative, right? And the token pumped like 12x from there. And I was like, yo, and it was that greed that was in there. And I'm like, man, is this going to go up more? Is this going to go up more? And I actually called Crypto Cosmo, and I was like, hey man, just because, like, I mean, this guy is, I mean, I wouldn't call him a whale necessarily, but the dude's like a dolphin, or, you know, like, I mean, he's definitely got some more money than I do. But anyway, and he's just made some great calls on certain tokens. And so I called him up and I was like, you're going to be my accountability buddy, man. Like, and I'm like, you need to tell me right now to sell some of my tokens or all of my tokens. I need you to tell me to sell. So actually that it's funny, but like I do, like I'm going to use him as an accountability buddy of just being like, as things start to get bullish, greed, dollar signs are going to get there. And really you have to have a plan mapped out of like, at these levels, I'm going to sell a certain percentage of my portfolio. You have to do that. I mean, okay, you don't have to. I have to do that. And the reason I have to do that is because otherwise I'm going to get caught, like Rain said, where like I get the greed and the dollar signs in my eyes, and then I end up not selling. And then it goes down. I'm like, oh, it'll go back up. And it doesn't go back up. Then it goes back down some more. And then I just erase a lot of the gains, right? And so my plan is to definitely sell a percentage of the portfolio. But I'm also going to continue to have a moon bag, right? That I'll just hold just in case, so that I have that exposure. If some big announcement happens that I wasn't planning on or expecting, and the token moons anymore, I still have some upside exposure to that. So it'll be interesting to see how this all plays out. But I'm looking at the chat, and I'm not seeing any additional OMI bids there. No, so Flippy Love Vivi, like what Rain will do sometimes is he kind of just like highlights whoever's talking there, so that it's just like a full scope on them. Definitely not left alone here. Like Rain is still there, but he's just giving me some screen time, which I appreciate that. But and Big A says Randy last run is a cautionary tale of not selling or DCAing out. It's true, right? Randy was a millionaire with OMI at one point when OMI was super high, and that was part of his story, and that's kind of how he kind of built a name for himself. Like that's how I heard of him initially. I was like, this guy like that just, I mean, came out of nowhere and was super into Pokemon, but just like bought a ton of OMI, and now he's a freaking crypto millionaire from OMI. And now he's not a crypto millionaire from OMI, right? He's still buying more. He's still bullish on it. But that's an example of just like, it can be tough. And look, I mean, we're all new at some point in this space, and we're learning things. And again, everyone is different. But like for me, I've learned for me, I have that accountability buddy, and I'm going to DCA out of my positions along the way. And that means I'm probably not going to sell at the top. But I'm going to get some great gains out of that. And like I said, I'll have those moon bags just in case something goes crazy, but I'll still have that exposure there. And so I don't get FOMO to try to buy back in, because I had that early on too, where like, I'm like, oh, this token pumped. And so then I sold, and I'm like, oh, it did. I'm like, but it could pump again. So I'm going to buy some more. And then it wipes out my gains, you know, so something to be aware of there. But it looks like we're going to close this out here, Rain. And so shout out to Eddie. Here, let me get this. If you can show his bid there, it's kind of, where's this at? But $15 OMI burn. So if you can hit me, Eddie Brown, in the DMs on Twitter at Doctor of Stuff, DROFSTUFF, just like it is, right there. Hit me up, and we'll walk you through the process of getting that OMI burn going, and then we will get you your prize of as many Metabrew cans as can fit in a USPS priority mailbox. So anyways, with that, you know what? Flippy Love Vivi made, oh, there he is. I was going to say, what if he did leave me alone? Oh, there's Eddie Brown. Yeah, so he's celebrating. So Eddie, please let me check and see if I've gotten your message on, let's see, on Twitter or on X here. I'm not seeing it yet. So please send that message. And so that I can get that going. So congratulations on that.
Maybe Gary Gensler has his friends shutting down my ISP because, don't love that I make fun of him as often as I can. Not always, just as often as I can. I mean, Gary Gensler is he does an amazing Mr. Burns impression, like incredible. Like we should all celebrate with him on how good he does at being Mr. Burns. That is incredible that he could make a cartoon character like that come to life so well. Yeah, thank you, Gary. And I understand you have a twin brother who looks just like you. Wow, 2 Mr. Burnses in this world. That is incredible. All right. Yeah. Crazy internet stuff. There was like a power outage at my home like a year or a month ago. And ever since then, my internet's been like disconnects every 15 minutes without fail. Like it just interrupts for a few seconds. I don't know what the deal is. Never had problems with it before.
Bro, that is crazy. That like happened to me too. Like that is so funny. Listen, it's Big Brother. And they don't like how we're talking about him right now with the SEC. That's got to be it, right?
Gary Gensler is my favorite. I love Kamala Harris. She's so amazing. I want to date her. What else? You know, I guess I got to stand in line behind some other people like Willie Brown and some other people. But Kamala, you're amazing. I love you. You're my favorite. Wow, my internet's working. Great. Proof that they're listening. No, yeah. So like I'm really excited with what's coming up with crypto. And this next year is what I've been waiting for 3 years. If you look back, it's crazy how every 4 years crypto goes absolutely nuts. And certain narratives run at a different time than other narratives. But what happens is everything throws into like 1 or 2 or 3 narratives, and then it shifts to some other narratives and they run. And this blow off top bull run like can be life changing when you're positioning yourself right. Now, unfortunately, 90 to 95% of people just do crypto wrong. Okay, well, you know, you can try to save them from themselves, but they're big boys and girls. They get to make their own decisions. You can tell them the right thing to do or the right ways to think about it. And most don't listen because they're just experts at this and they're going to follow YouTube person that they like and they're going to do whatever that person says, which all right. And they haven't learned how to make the decisions that the rich make, right? So that's why like I recommend you check out Raoul Pal because he advises some of the wealthiest people in the world on what is going on with crypto. And it's crazy if like he does such an articulate job of helping you see what's coming and why this exponential age is such a big deal and why the exponential age is turning to crypto and that some of these crypto projects are going to become some of the biggest companies in the world over the next few years. Like you think about it, Facebook is one of the biggest players today. Prior to 15 years ago, had you ever heard of Facebook? Like when did they really hit? They started hitting 2012, 2013, like 11, 12 years ago. Now they're absolutely huge. How long ago was it that you heard about TikTok? Did you hear about TikTok the first time like 3 years ago, 4 years ago? Yet it's become such a marketing behemoth, a company you had never heard of. Now, a lot of the world has not heard of these crypto companies, but some of them are going to become some of the biggest projects in the world. Cool. Thanks, everyone, for joining us. Guys, it's been a pleasure, Doc. Thanks for jumping in. I know you got to go.
Yeah.
It's been a fun time.
One thing real quick. So I
Sure.
just got the message from Fast Eddie. I'm going to go pick up my daughter. So when I get back, I'm going to send you the address of where to burn that. You got to let me know if you have Base OMI or if you have ETH OMI. I haven't researched whether or not you use the same burn address because Base is on Ethereum. It's just so let me look into that real quick, unless you have ETH OMI that you're willing to send. But if not, if it's Base OMI, let me know that in the DMs on Twitter and we'll go from there. So thanks, everyone. Appreciate you.
All right. For those of you who've been longtime watchers, you know what this is. I'm going to exit with my rap. I wrote this rap as a fun way to help people like learn the principles behind crypto investing that work over time. Cool. See y'all later.
Came into the space chasing all of the gains, chasing the pumps and all of the hype trains. But like in life, You buy before you could. Was told to buy when it was pouring like a rainmaker should. I buy when it's down, don't chase the boats that I miss. Cause I always make the time in mind. I take the one out cause I'm patient like that. And I'll wait for the right time. I sell when it's high, I buy when it's low. They call me rich, they call me smart. I'm just a rainmaker running the show. Calculated investments, I don't leave with my heart. Principles are simple, they're leaving a mark. Buy when it's boring, just gotta be smart. I sell when it's hype, like all the channels they pump it. That's when I was selling, got parabolic to dump it. They call me rich, they call me smart. I'm a rainmaker, making my own start. I'm with the future, learning the past. Makes the time fly by, years going so fast. The game plan is mine, I'll own it now. When I reach the top, haters asking me how. Cause I'm a rainmaker, investments I love. And I follow what I learn, not relying on luck. Time is never better, the time like the present. This next 5 years is a gift and it's feeling like heaven. I'm committed to learn, to study and to know that nothing comes easy but with knowledge the game show. Sticking out this wrong could soon become a bear market. Learning and growing and when it's slow would be the target. They say it's come out, Bitcoin is dead. The massive decreases can get to your head. Sticking around, the time is better. Strong like that, I'll let the others be fretters. 2 years time the ball will bring back the gains. That makes it worth the effort cause here comes the rain. So let's go rainmakers, let's make it all happen. Let go of the hate, let the haters be crafting. I'm here for 5 years, let's do this together. The time is bright, the time could be better. They call me rich, they call me smart. I'm a rainmaker, making my own start. I'm with the future, learning the past. Makes the time fly by, years going so fast. The game plan is mine, I'll own it now. When I reach the top, haters asking me how. Cause I'm a rainmaker, investments I love. And I follow what I learn, not relying on luck. Haters be hating, the time to slow down. Addressing what they say when I'm wearing my crown. They're chasing green candles like someone who was new. I got a vision that was bigger, helping me to push through. I'm still human and sometimes it is rough. And that's what makes me special, simply I stay tough. Cause I'm a rainmaker, investments I love. And I follow what I learn, not relying on luck.